Alright, so today we're going to be trimming our own beef tenderloin. This is an untrimmed chunk of meat. Got it at the grocery store for $4.99 a pound in my area. So first we're going to open the bag up. Show you what we're working with here. Alright, so here is our big chunk of meat. Spread this big. Here's a little bit here. Alright, so whenever you're trimming beef tenderloin or any cut of meat, there's going to be a lot of silver skin and fat that you cannot eat that's on there. So we have to trim that off. One piece. And there's a lot of it. It's not just one side. It's literally like all over. It's inside. So you got to trim this all out as best you can. At least this stuff on this side, you can just grab it and kind of pull it off with relative ease. And I'm going to do the hard stuff first, which is this randomly placed fat. I want to say it's fat and silver skin mix. Like, you're never going to get all of it, and that's fine as long as you get most of it, because there's nothing that I hate more about steak than when you go to bite into it and it's just full of gristle. Not that there is a lot of gristle on this cut, but I have seen worse. So easily that just slid right off. That's that silver skin. So there are going to be no time skips in this video. This is literally just going to be the entire process to show you how much you can save by doing it yourself rather than buying it at the store for, in my area where it's all trimmed, it's $12.99 a pound. Which I think is ridiculous. But that's because no one else wants to do it themselves, and I'm here to show you it's not that hard. Because it's all fat. And like it's in every fold. You got to get it all out for the best cut of meat without losing any of the actual meat itself. Always best to use a very sharp knife for this. I am not a professional butcher by any means. I just enjoy cutting my own meat to get to the size that I want it at. Silver skin everywhere. Right there. All I'm going to do is pull it off. Another helpful tip for you, if you're trimming the silver skin off, don't cut with it while you're peeling it. Drag the knife in an upwards motion, because that will help you prevent wasting any meat while you're peeling the skin off. This is all. Yes. I believe it is time to flip that one more right here. There we go. Time to flip. And that's where you see all the rest of the silver skin. I'm going to flip this board around so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about here. This is all silver skin all the way around. So normally you can just get a hold of it, this membrane, and just lift it off. But then you still have this skin underneath. I prefer to take the membrane off first. One shot. Then kind of pull the meat down a little bit to see where the silver skin ends. And I like to find the center of it. Literally lift the meat up a bit, just so I can find where the center of this actually is. Take my knife, and this is why I was telling you to watch out how deep you're cutting, because that's all wasted meat now, when you can literally just sit here and peel the silver skin away from the meat. There's a big chunk right here. You're not going to get all of it in one shot, so you can come back at it in strips. It's perfectly fine. But I'm holding this as close as I can to the silver skin. I'm actually lifting the skin up and holding the knife towards the skin. As you can see, that's working. And that's one strip. Show you. That's one strip. I did have to go a bit deeper on this one because it is going under the meat. This won't be perfect every time you do it, but as you keep doing it, you'll get better and better. And now I just contradicted myself. I went down, but at the same time, I'm also keeping that edge of that blade up into that skin. So I'm not really losing a lot, and this will get compacted back in when you vacuum seal it, or when you Ziploc bag it and put it in the freezer. And I know a lot of people right now are going to freak out and are like, oh, why would you put it in a Ziploc bag and throw it in the freezer? Well, I'll tell you, if you take this cut of meat after we're done with it, and you put it in a Ziploc bag and get as much of the air out as you can, and then stick it in the freezer for a few days, when you thaw it out, leave it in the fridge for about 2 days. Because it will be really super tender, and it will just be amazing. Because I believe in doing things on a budget. You don't need a food saver bag for everything. You don't need a vacuum sealer. Because some things you can do yourself and save yourself that extra bit of money. Because it's honestly not hard to trim your own beef tenderloin. Look at that, right off. It's honestly not difficult to do. It just requires a little bit of patience in knowing that anything on there that is white is not that edible. I mean, you can leave some of it on, but I don't leave a lot on. The silver skin has to go. Look at that. Because why would you want to bite into that? Lost a little chunk of meat there because I didn't follow my rule. Right now, see, I'm just going like this. I'm just scraping it. And that came out almost perfect. Get that little string and check this crease. Got a little tiny pocket, but really nothing too much to worry about. So when you pay $12.99 or higher a pound for this stuff, I'll wash my hands quick. When you're paying $12.99 a pound for all this, you are literally paying 3 times the amount that you should have for this, because this was a 4.44 pounds untrimmed beef tenderloin. Grab my scale here, see how much that fat weighs. Tear. And we are at tared 0. There's a little bit of meat on this stuff, but and we are at all the waist. We're at 5.8 ounces. So 4.44 is just under 4.5 pounds. That means there's still over 4 pounds of meat here. You're basically paying untrimmed for a third of the price as you are a regular trim to save 6 ounces of fat. Not fat. Yeah, fat and silver skin. It's pretty weak sauce. Do I have my clean knife in here? I do not. I normally have a different knife for this. I do not know where it went. It is. I'm gonna wash this knife off quick. So I'm not sponsored by Chicago Cutlery. I would like to be, but I'm not. These knives have been in my family for many, many years. Chicago Cutlery. I like the worn down wooden handles on these. The blades are still very good. I keep these very clean, and I keep them really sharp. These knives are probably about a good 16, 17 years old, and they are still really sharp. But for trimming, I prefer this knife, which used to look like this one. This is a brand new one as a comparison, Chicago Cutlery. These knives look very different. They are the same size, but this one's more full in the back. Somewhere along the line, this got skinnier right here. But I don't really like the sharp handles. There are sharp edges on the handles. From years of use, these have smoothed down considerably. I will probably just take sandpaper to that, and it will be set. So Now we're going to separate this one into 3 roasts because I had planned to make roasts for these. I do have a lot more beef tenderloin in the freezer stocked up at that price because honestly, how can you go wrong? I do see I still have some, I think that's actually just tissue. That might be old stuff on here. That's just old stuff. Let's trim that off. Okay. So now I'm going to cut. That's 1. That's 2. This one's easy. 3. And honestly, I think this 4th one you know, actually 3 of these are gonna be roasts. We're gonna filet mignon this one. So a good filet mignon. We're actually gonna cut this one in half. Show you the butterfly method. This steak by itself is going to look like this. But if you take this one now that we just cut, and you cut it, but not all the way through, now we have a perfect sized filet mignon. You cut it almost all the way through, just enough to where you can fold it. And just like that, 2 filet mignons and 3 roasts. These roasts should be enough for 2 people, at least 2 people. And I know the filet mignons you're going to get at the butcher shop for about $10.99 to $13.99 a pound. And let's weigh one of these just to have another accurate comparison here. There we go. Take my plate, tear the plate. That is 14 ounces on the dot. So there's your $10 for 2 steaks. So for 4 pounds, of beef tenderloin that I got for $4 a pound, I spent $16 on what you would normally spend 10 to 12 on for these 2, and I got all this for 16 bucks. That's my video on how to trim a beef tenderloin. You can also take one of these roasts and you can cut it into about 2-inch cuts for normal tenderloin cuts. However, on this exact steak, I am not doing that. I will make a future video on how to cook these the method that I had mentioned earlier, with them being frozen and thawed out. I did use a vacuum sealer for this one. I prefer to freeze these for about a week and then thaw them out over the course of 2 to 3 days in the refrigerator, and then pat them dry, salt, pepper, grill them. I will make another video on that. So thank you for watching. I appreciate any thumbs up on the how-to channel, and we'll see you next time. Thanks everybody.